What's up, y'all? I hope you guys are doing all right. Um, Bella's running around here, so she may pop in. There's some dogs outside. That's always interesting. It's either dogs or squirrels. It cause a little bit of a ruckus, so yeah, we'll see. But I hope everybody's doing well. Saturday, I'm looking out my window and my grass is it's overdue. Not much. I'm not that guy, but I need to get on my lawnmower. Cool. So I wanted to do my usual thing, right? Do my usual thing and come out and say what's up to everybody, make sure everybody's doing all right, and throw out some informational tidbits just to get people through the day or through the times. So I was thinking about what I wanted to talk about, and I had a really good call today. And during that call, we covered quite a few topics, talked about a lot of stuff, but one of two topics that I wanted to share was how we create our own obstacles. And it holds true. I mean, it holds true for me, right? For a long time, I was always, apprehensive about the idea of starting new things or attacking new projects or taking on new opportunities that were all an expression of growth, right? An opportunity for growth externally. And I realized that a lot of that apprehension just had to do with who I was as a person, and whether or not I had the confidence in the thought that I might be able to succeed, or if I was afraid of failure. And I came to the realization that in a lot of those instances, I created my own obstacles. I prevented myself from doing something that I might have been great at, or that that I might have enjoyed doing in some cases, just simply because I had my own internal self limitations. So as I was talking about that today, that doesn't just apply to the kind of external experiences, but it also applies to our internal aspirations and the work that we do as we kind of develop and try to habituate positive patterns or positive behaviors. Sometimes as we're going through this growth, right, this transformation, this metamorphosis, it's just like anything else. If you're working out and you hit a plateau and you get frustrated and you decide that you don't want to move forward, or that you're not capable of moving forward, you'll fall off of this habit that you're trying to establish as far as developing yourself physically. So what happens in that instance is that underneath the surface there's a significant amount of growth that's taking place, transformations taking place, and you might not see it, but it requires consistency and being able to stay the course. And if you fall off of that course, you lose a lot of ground, and sometimes you lose all the ground that you may have made, and not even begin the pursuit again, right? You might fall off the horse and never get back on. But the reality is if that you'd have stuck with it, that you may have seen the fruits of your efforts more or sooner than you may have thought, sooner than you would have thought. So yeah, I think that's an important topic, to not discourage ourselves because we might not be getting the feedback that we want as quickly as we want, related to what it is that we're working to accomplish. So that is Bella's got my sock. So that's an important thing, right? Is the obstacles that we place on ourselves. As it relates to personal growth and personal development, when we're kind of going through these ideas of change and these ideas of growth, sometimes they don't seem as if it doesn't seem as if we're doing work, or as if it's taking hold, right? Because we're not seeing these immediate responses from our environment, or from our experiences, or from the relationships that we have in the world. And sometimes it just takes a little bit of time before it starts to play itself out, but we have to stay the course. That was kind of the first thing that I wanted to talk about. The second component that I wanted to talk about was this idea of emotional connection. And what I mean by that is there's a few different layers related to how behavior actually takes hold, right? We conceptualize these thoughts about how to change our behaviors, and we go through these practices in our head, whether, and it might even be physical, like if we're, practicing to become better at a sport or something, there might be, a physical association with it. But the point being is that there's this conceptual activity that needs to take place, right? This idea of thought, this thought of change and what that looks like. And that can be broken down into multiple layers. But then there's also the actual practice, the physical practice of, whatever it is that we're trying to do and whatever it is that we're trying to accomplish, and habituating that state, right? Whether it's, if we're improving our communication, or if we're trying to practice more compassion, or whatever it is that we're trying to do. This dog is hilarious. That there's got to be a physical component to it. So we can practice those two things and still might not see the results that baby, stop biting me. We still might not see the results that we're expecting, because we don't have the emotional component tied to it. And let me illustrate this. Let me paint this picture in a different way. So when there's a subconscious belief or behavior that sets place because of, let's say you're trying to protect yourself, right? You go through a situation where, let's say you get into a fight in high school or something like that, and you remember kind of everything that led up to it, the way that the person looked at you, kind of the conversation that led to it, and all this information is stored within you. And if a similar circumstance happens to present itself, right, you're about to get into another fight, you immediately remember everything that happened before, and then you kind of revisit like your response to that situation. What's happening is not only are you seeing this experience, but you're also remembering everything that happened, and there's also this emotional association with it. And when you feel that intense emotion, you feel that fight or flight, and that sends these signals to your brain to release all of these chemicals, and this is the cycle where you recall, a past experience, and it leads to a response stimulus or behavior. Subconsciously, when that happens, and whether it's a positive or negative behavior, the body is automatically going through this process without you thinking about it. There's a difference in when we're trying to create a new behavior, in that we're consciously having to go through this process. We're constantly having to go through the exercise of what that experience is going to be like. We conceptualize it, and then we go through the activity, whether that's working out or whatever. But one component that's usually missing is the emotional connection to that new behavior, because we typically don't have kind of this deep-rooted emotional attachment to the activity that we're doing when it's a new behavior or new pattern that we're trying to create, unless there's a motivating force behind us. So I think it's really, really important to make the connection of the emotional aspect of that, what the emotional aspect contributes to behavioral change. Yeah, I don't know, that was kind of, and I hope that's just not too heavy, but yeah, I wanted to mention it because it's when you have those motivating factors that are really, really emotional. Those are the ones that we have a tendency to hold on to longer, right? If there's, motivation to lose weight because of, a particular thing that's driving us to it, and if we really believe it and we really, really want it, that's when we accomplish it. In the sense that we have to visualize what we're going after, and then we have to plan and make some physical changes, right, related to, where we're going to work out, what type of workout we're going to do, what time it's going to happen, all of that stuff. But if we don't have that commitment, that internal commitment, right, that, inspiration and motivation to you see it through, then it's unlikely that we'll develop that habit. After time, right, after a particular amount of time, the habit will form itself, and then it'll just become second nature. It'll become subconscious. It'll become so set in that it's just a way of being. It's just our normal experience of what happens in our day-to-day lives, right? But it takes that work in order to get there, and a lot of people miss that emotional connection and that emotional component and I wanted to mention it and kind of say, you know, if there's something that you're trying to accomplish, or if there's a goal that you're trying to achieve, you know, understand why, right? And understand, you know, the true driving force behind it, and make sure that there's a strong emotional connection to, you know, the reason that you're doing it and the outcome that you're looking for. And if you do that, you know, it'll increase the likelihood of you succeeding in that effort and that endeavor significantly. So yeah, that was the talk, and man, I got bit just a minute ago. That was the talk for today. It was, you know, about, you know, the emotional connection, and then, you know, being cognizant of our own obstacles, right? The things that we create that prevent us from doing the things that we think were possible, that the things that we think might not be possible because of fear, or because of inadequacy, or because of, you know, any of those kind of characteristics, internal characteristics that are suppressing our true potential and our true power. Cool. I hope this was valuable to all of you. You guys are awesome. Keep reaching out. I've had quite a few people reach out recently, and that always feels good, especially now. It's cool. So keep reaching out. Stay in touch. Take care of yourselves. Have an awesome weekend, and I love you all. All right, you guys take care. Bye.